Hello everyone, welcome to week number 26 of Samachar Manthan, the Polity, Governance, IR, Art and Culture and Modern History portions. So today we'll be dealing up with a tough topic upfront in the starting, because that topic particularly people feel a lot of confused there, and the lack of clarity there. Particularly when I used to prepare, I used to also feel that this topic is very tough. So we should first cover it up through the context of news. So here, how many of you feel that this topic is very like you don't understand it from Lakshmikant? Like, what is Article 268? What is Article 269? The financial relations part, right? So that's that's something where we falter, because the text as it is mentioned there is confusing. So we'll try to make that easy. Uh, People can also comment whether I'm streaming live, whether I'm streaming fine, and we'll start with it. So yeah, so the news is that there is this economic disputes which are coming up right now, because different types of governments which are ruled, like opposition ruled states and the central government, they have different stance with regard to various matters. During the times of pandemic also, it was a national crisis. Still at that point of time, it was visible that there were issues regarding the GST compensation, and after that also we have observed various kinds of frictions. So any example of such friction which you might have seen? Online students can also comment. In recent times or in last 3 to 4 years, apart from the GST compensation cess also. Both horizontal and vertical devolution. What is the exact example? Have you heard about the pension schemes? Right now the debate with regard to the pension schemes, right? Various state governments stating that we'll go back to the old pension schemes. What is that? Different policy vis-a-vis the central government. Entire pension scheme had shifted to new pension scheme, but again the states are saying that we'll move on to the old pension scheme. Likewise, when central governments do come up with certain schemes uh, at the economic level, like we'll provide some financial contribution to the farmers. At that point of time, what some state government says that we already have such a scheme place in our state, so we'll not be joining this particular scheme, right? This also happened. These type of frictions are coming up. So now the idea is that why, like, what do we need to do with regards to this? We need to study the center-state relations basically. Now in this, which part of the constitution, which articles of the constitution are related to the financial relations? Have you heard of Article 280? Finance Commission. Finance Commission, what is it about? Financial allocation, distribution of resources, right? So it might be around Article 280. So overall, the financial relations constitute articles from Article 268 to Article 263, 268 to 293. Basically, 290s being the articles related to borrowing, that the state cannot borrow without the consent of the central government in case there is any liability of the state pending with the central government also, or with regard to the international borrowing, right? So this is different. Now in this, if you see the entire spectrum, this is related to this, that what taxes the central government, what subjects come into the taxation sphere of central government, because we are a federal country. So of course we'll also have matters under the taxation of the state government, right? By the way, we had discussed one matter about this policy taxation, basically about the liquor. So the alcohol products and the liquor part. So who under which level of government does this taxation lie? State government, right? So now what is there is that there are certain subjects under the purview of the central government, as they are mentioned in the 7th schedule. What is 7th schedule about? Federalism. What do we, is there directly the term federalism mentioned in the 7th schedule? Distribution of subjects between center and states. Basically the union list, the state list and the concurrent list, right? So in these lists, there are certain entries, and those entries which are under the union list, the taxation powers related to those will be under the central government. Which are these powers? Have you ever paid income tax? Any of you? Anyone who had done a job earlier? No? Corporation tax? So, who did you pay the tax to? It was? Okay, this came as a TDS. Okay, all right. So, generally we pay the taxes to the central government because income tax, corporation tax, the tax on the profit of the corporates, that lies with the central government, right? Now, with regard to state government, we have seen there is this alcohol as an entry, liquor products. Apart from that, what are the entries? Have you heard of something called agriculture tax? Though in India it is not applied, but that also comes under the purview of the state government. Why? Because this is mentioned under the state list. Now my question is, since the formation of the constitution, what type of entries were there in the concurrent list? Can you make a guess? Where the entries could have been in the concurrent list, where state and center could both have the taxes. Education. As a taxes, I'm asking as a subject for taxes. What type of entries regarding the taxes are mentioned in the concurrent list? Any guesses what could have been there? Since the constitution, since the formation of the constitution, since independence India. Not in the past 5 or 6 years, since the formation. Education, health are subjects. I am asking about the matters of taxation. Can you guess what could have been the matters of taxation here? 7th schedule is about the list. Yes, right. Yes, the taxation of on professions not exceeding certain limit, right? That's true. Around 25,000 rupees. That also comes up. So here there was no entry about taxation. That because this is a matter of taxation, right? This is not a matter of legislation that center can also have a legislation, state can also have a legislation. And primarily what has happened here is that important taxes, if you see, they are under the purview of union government. Less important taxes which will not grow with time, they were under the purview of the state list or the state government. Concurrent list was kept as it is until and unless we had the GST constitutional amendment, the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. Till that point of time, constitutional concurrent was kept as it is. Now I'll just explain that why we are reading it, because just to understand that this because of this skewedness, it was important to decide upon the matters of distribution of the resources, right? Because the center's kitty was about to expand, it was expected that it will expand much more than the state government's kitties, right? So we'll have to provide some mechanism here for distribution of the taxes, and that is what our articles from article 268 to 271 primarily talk about. Alright. Now before discussing these articles, because there is a lot of confusion with regard to the terms in those articles. Before that, I would like to ask, what do we mean by such terms like levy of taxes, like appropriation of taxes, like collection of taxes, and distribution of taxes? Or maybe assigning of a particular tax. What do we mean by levying something? Yes. Which government has the mandate to impose the tax? That is levy. How it will be different from distribution? You can also comment. Suppose on a particular income or a particular in a taxation subject, I am the central government, let's suppose, and I have the mandate to levy it. That okay, under my purview, this tax has to be levied. This is under my purview. But will the collection of that tax and will the appropriation of that tax, will it be mandatorily with me? That means if it is levied by me, am I liable to collect that tax also? Can I say the state government? क्या मैं state government को बोल सकती हूँ to collect that tax? Right? So this is what the difference comes up with respect to levy and collection. That some taxes, they are levied by the center, but they are not collected by the center. They are collected by states. Is it right? Now, in those also, what happens? As per this logic of the distribution of subjects and as per the articles, that okay, as per article 268, these are to be levied by center but collected and appropriated by the state. That means even if it is levied by the center under the name of the center, even then if a state government is appropriating it, then I as a state government can also keep that with me after collection. This is called as appropriation. मैंने अपने पास रख लिया उस tax को, right? Are we getting it? Am I able to explain it, communicate it? Right? So, when it is levied under the center, but the collection and appropriation is with the states, this is nothing but your Article 268. What's an example of it? Article 268. Have you had signed any check ever? Checks or any promissory notes from the banks? Or paid any stamp duties? No? These are the matters which come up under Article 268. Such type of taxes are levied under the center's name but collected and appropriated by the state. Now compare it to a tax which is levied by center, collected by the center also, but distributed between the center and the states. So this tax, this Article 268, the entry of it or the taxes of it will not go to the consolidated fund of India, right? Because these are levied by the center. But what about your common income tax, or what about your corporation tax, or what about the general taxes which are there with the government, which are not coming under the appropriation or collection of the government, of the state governments? These taxes, generally these type of taxes which are not coming under any other entries, as we will see, these are levied as well as collected by the center, and then they are distributed between the center and the state. And this forms your part of Article 270. Okay. Compare it with Article 268 now. Article 268 versus Article 270. Here levy by the center but appropriation collection by the state. No need to go into consolidated fund of India, right? But here levied and collected by the center but distributed between the center and states. Who will distribute it? By what mechanism we will distribute these funds which are coming up with the center? Did we discuss something like Finance Commission in the starting? Article 280. So there was an amendment in the 1960s, the 80th Constitutional Amendment Act. After that it was decided that the corporation tax will be treated equal to the income tax, and that overall will be distributed between the center and the states. That means out of the center kitty, including the subjects like income tax, corporation tax, other types of taxes also, they will all be going to the center, and then that will be distributed between the center and the state based on the recommendations of your Finance Commission. whatever the Finance Commission recommends, and that is just recommendatory in nature, not compulsory, not mandatory. But as we have seen, Finance Commission gradually they have played a huge role in our fiscal federalism, right? And whatever they have recommended, that is generally followed. Yes, that is followed. Like the 14th Finance Commission, I think, had recommended 42% devolution to the states, and 15th Finance Commission under N.K. Singh panel had recommended 41%. That has been followed by the center. So this is, yes, yes, yes. So what type of funds will then go into the Consolidated Fund of India, right? These are generally those entries which are not mentioned anywhere in Article 268, 269, 269A, 271. These type of entries, because if you see Article 270, यहाँ पर clearly mentioned है that this type of tax which is levied by center, collected by center, but distributed between both of them, these type of levies are those which are except for matters mentioned in 268, 269A, 270, 271 and so on and so forth, except for 270. The other surrounding articles, जो भी matters in surrounding articles में नहीं है, they will form part of your 270, and then this 270, the matters under this will be distributed between the centers and the state, the overall revenues. So this will go into your Consolidated Fund of India. Likewise, those subjects, those revenues which directly go into the center, and the center has no any authority, no any mandate to distribute them, right? Because कुछ ऐसे भी taxes हैं जो states से हम share ही नहीं करते, we don't share them at all. These also go into your Consolidated Fund of India, because these are with the central government. So whichever taxes are there with the central government, levied by them, collected by them, they go into the central government, Consolidated Fund of India. By the way, which are the taxes which are, not shared by the state governments at all? This was also a controversy, recent controversy in recent times. Customs, no, there are different provisions related to customs. Cess and surcharge do not go into the state governments at all. They are not shareable. Customs, it is there that it is the mandate of the center to levy customs as per the 7th schedule itself. But as per these articles 270 and 271, the customs do not come into these matters, because that is clearly the part of the central list under 7th schedule. So cesses and surcharge, what is the difference? Huh? I'll have to little bit check upon it, because that's it's not directly mentioned in the Article 270, so we'll have to still decide. 42% vertical sharing, cesses and surcharges, right? So what is the difference between cess and a surcharge? That means cess is for a particular subject, right? For a particular matter. Is surcharge is also for a particular matter? Okay, surcharge is a tax on tax, right? We'll come to that part. Is surcharge is also for a particular matter or generally? General, okay. One difference is that among the cesses and surcharges, this is for specific taxation matter, this is for general. Apart from that, what is the difference here? Suppose I'm producing goods of around 2000 rupees, and on that, suppose I'm paying a tax of 100 rupees. Let's say an example. Then on that, I applied a 10% cess. I mean, out of that, I'm giving, let's say, on having a cess like 5%, 1%. So let's say this is a cess. Now, where the surcharge will be applied? Surcharge can be levied independent of stating its usage. Yes, right? That is in case of cess also. But cess is for specific matters, of course. Surcharge means something above. That means cess is applied on the overall taxation, the percentage. That is irrespective of the salary. That, okay, what is the salary, what is the income level of that group? If you are using that product or using that particular matter, coming into that particular subject taxation, where the government has decided that will impose a cess on it, then it will be imposed, irrespective of looking at the incomes. But surcharge is generally a tax where if your income level exceeds a certain limit, then we implement surcharge on that particular case person. So this is the difference basically between the cesses and surcharge. And what are the articles related to cesses and surcharge? Out of these, if you can guess, 268 to 271. 271. So cesses and surcharges are related to 271. Now we have covered 268, 270, 271. What is left now? 269 and 269A. So now 269A will open up another layer of it, in the sense that there are certain taxes which are levied by the center, and then these taxes are collected by the center. But then these do not form part of your consolidated fund of India. They are levied, they are collected, but then they are immediately assigned to the states. Assigning means that the overall revenue that is given to the states, that okay, you take the revenues out of it based on whatever the norms are decided. This is Article 269. What are the goods coming up under Article 269 generally? What should come up under Article 269? Which should be assigned to the states? What matters should be assigned to the states? Even though under constitution this is not the part of the state list, right? Still, we want that these should be assigned to the states. This should be given to the states. Concurrent list was blank regarding taxation, rights since independence. क्या लगता है आपको, क्या ऐसे matters हैं जो आने चाहिए? Make any random guesses. I'll give in just a brief context. So there are some goods and services, right? Now in that case, because ये हमने देखा, there are certain matters that okay, income tax, corporation tax are coming here, the liquor part and other taxes are coming under state, agriculture tax and all that. But here the distribution might also be related to the geography. If suppose a good is being produced and suppose that is under the purview of the state government, let's suppose, but that same good is going to another state, now who should tax that particular good? Which state, or should the center tax that particular good? This will be part of interstate trade and commerce. So these type of goods which are part of interstate trade and commerce, other than the sale of newspapers, the sale part of these, the sale part of this or the purchase of these goods, that is just the part of your Article 269. So 269, right since independence, was basically part of interstate trade and commerce, right? Now what happened after GST? What did we want? Acha, what was the scenario before GST? Ye batao. Have we heard of VAT, value added tax? What was value added tax? Tax on value addition. Whatever value addition will be there on every stage, it will be taxed, right? And different types of central and state governments. Yes, interstate trade, it is related to interstate trade. All the five subjects you have mentioned, they are out of the purview of GST. We'll come to that. So what is there, that the state governments were charging different VAT based on their own based on their own factors. Now what will be there? Difficulties, right? If we'll have a common tax, one nation, one tax, what will happen? Synchronization will be easy, right? Easier movement of goods, right? What will happen then? Ease of doing business among the states also. Interstate travel is easy. So we'll have better production, selling, right? And on every stage, it will not be there. It's a why on every stage GST is not being taxed like value added tax? What is the term we generally use? VAT was levied by the states, yes. Any guesses? Okay, I'll just ask an easier one. So, what do you mean by production-based tax or destination-based tax or value-added tax? Yes. So, where the good will be finally sold, coming from state A to B to C to D, finally if it is sold in E, then there you will apply the tax, right? Who should apply the tax? The system will become too complicated if state governments individually are applying it. So, who will levy the tax? The central government. Where this tax will go to? The central government. But through the laws of parliament, there will be some mechanism which will be decided to distribute the same between the center and the state. And that is nothing but your 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. And the entry which was there into the Constitution from this Amendment Act was Article 269A. Okay. So 269 and 269A are basically related to the interstate trade and commerce. That is what we have to remember. So what did we remember? 269, what was 268 about? Yes, levied by center and appropriated and collected by the state. What was 269 and 269A about? About interstate trade and commerce, right? What was 270 about? Yes, levied and collected by the center but distributed between the center and state. What was 271 about? About cess and surcharge. The entire revenues will be kept with the center, levied, collected and kept with the center, right? So this was nothing but your financial distribution. Till now we have to remember only this, because after this if we try to have further information today it will get complicated. But I hope we have got a basic idea that what is the spectrum between the center and state, regarding the center and state relationship. So this was it. Now, what kind of problems could come up from such type of entire spectrum? Because sometimes it can get confusing about the subjects, which type of subjects are under which matter. After GST, how did we implement GST? How the state's concerns were allayed? That आपको proper compensation मिलेगा. If you will lose out, you will get proper compensation, right? And after pandemic, what was there? What was the impact of pandemic on the center and states revenues? Yes, we can say that GST introduction has led to centralization of fiscal federalism to some extent. Yes, that's right. So what was there? What happened? What was the impact on center and states revenues of pandemic? क्या हुआ pandemic के time पर? Revenue decreased. What was the impact? Tussle between center and state. Center state has said that now, because earlier the compensation to the GST, to the states, the GST compensation, that was on the basis that there will be no such pandemic, that they, on the basis of 14% of continuous growth year on year, will provide compensation to the states. But now because pandemic is there, that 14% is not there. Economy in negative, center state. Now let's revise this. Center said that now the borrowing which is done for the compensation, that borrowing has to be done by the state governments, right? What will the state governments say, particularly the opposition ruled states? What will they say in this regard? What will be their stand if tomorrow somebody says you that आपको loan लेना पड़ेगा for your own problems? What will you say to your savior who always saves you? भाई मेरे पास कैपेसिटी नहीं है, मैं कहाँ से लोन लूंगा? आपका नाम ज्यादा है, आपका नाम बड़ा है, आपका आपके किटी बड़ा है, रेवेन्यूज बड़ा है, आपके नाम पर लोन लो, not on the name of us, right? That will happen. The states will say that do not take loans in our name, take loan in your name, the center's name, and then pay us gradually the compensation. And that's what happened. This created problem. What further has created problems in this regard, as we have discussed, the finance commission role, because yes, finance commission has been crucial in with regard to the distribution of the kitty to the states. But is finance commission a permanent body? Can it really overlook that the center is not bypassing all this through the levy of cesses and surcharges? Article 271, because एक और weapon है center के पास, cesses and surcharges, right? That can also be imposed, and there are no as in the restrictions, so that can be imposed. The quantum of that imposement is increased, and this is one of the contradictions. Then what will be its impact on economy overall if we continuously create such frictions? Allowed limit of borrowing increased from 3 to 4%, and interest payment should be done by center. Yes, based on certain conditionalities, this borrowing limit was increased from 3 to 4%. That is right. And one of those conditionalities was also related to the electricity reforms, the reforms in the distribution companies. That was there. Role of financial commission is overshadowed by GST council. Yes, that's right. So what will be its impact on economy? ऐसे frictions होते रहेंगे. State would have much revenues to spend. Not necessarily that this friction would be positive for the state. It might be negative also. Yes, so yes, it's a vicious cycle. It will go on. It will impact the capacity of the states with the centers less contribution into the states, and then it will also impact the overall ease of doing business, because different states having different policies. Then it will give a signal to the investors also where to invest and not to invest, basically because the policies keep changing, right? Fiscal burden, because why the center and states fight sometimes? Because they want that we should be giving the maximum doles to the voter. If we are as a party either at center and state, we should give the maximum doles. अब इसमें होगा क्या? Fiscal burden will increase, right? Revenue expenditure will increase. Revenue expenditure कौन से expenditure के cost पर आएगा? What will be the cost? There are two types of expenditures, revenue and capital, right? If revenue expenditure increases, fiscal burden increases. What will the impact? Capital expenditure decreases, right? Infrastructure creation, economy building, overall human resources, that infrastructure also, education, schools, that will be impacted, right? The problems on the future generations will increase, right? All these are impacts of the distribution, the frictions between the center and the states on economy. So it is very harmful for the economy. What are the recommendations? What could we do here to solve the frictions? There is a one word here, cooperative federalism. Can we promote that? What do we mean by cooperative federalism? Australian and French experience suggests that it will negatively impact the economy in short term, but its overall, yes, GST has a long term impact, and that was suggested even by the Kelkar committee in early 2000, and that is why we have implemented GST when the government finally had the majority in the Lok Sabha. So this is it. So yes, what do we mean by cooperative federalism? To cooperate among the different levels of federalism between the center and the states, rather than having a combative federalism. because these type of frictions, constant competition, this is a type of combative federalism, right? So we should have cooperative federalism. Utilize the existing mechanisms. What are the existing mechanisms for financial cooperation between center and state? GST Council, right? GST Council, when it came up, it was termed as the technology for cooperative fiscal federalism, right? बाद में we saw problems in GST Council also, that decisions were not taken later by consensus, but initially it was observed, particularly for the first year, that all the decisions were taken by consensus inside GST Council, irrespective of party stands and governments, right? So this is one type of having these type of mechanisms, permanent bodies would, if making the finance commission permanent, can that also be utilized? Can that also be one of the mechanisms, right? Finance commission को permanent कर दो, so that it can play a huge role of further role in the implementation of the distribution between the center and states regarding financial mechanisms, resources, right? What is further? Transparency in resource allocation. Yes, having more transparency with regard to, and also having more regulations with regard to cess and surcharge, that is also one of the mechanisms, right? So these are basically clear legislative framework, further having clear legislations. So these are the way forward further. India needs to move from combative to cooperative and compassionate federalism. Yes, this is the best type of conclusion. I also feel that this is a good conclusion to mention in your answers. So today we tried to look at the GS paper 2 and 3 part with regard to center-state financial relations. And I'll switch off the live chat now. And next topics we'll discuss after a short break, around 5 minutes something. Any doubts, any issues? Online students can also. Conclusion is that we should have cooperative federalism between the two units rather than combative federalism. And along with cooperative federalism, another word is being used in live chat, compassionate federalism. That means looking at the other level through the vision of compassion rather than through vision of politics or self-interest. So this is compassionate federalism. So this is also a good term, compassionate federalism overall. This can also be utilized, new term basically. So yes, I think all the doubts are mostly over. So yes, I have explained climate pact, what is compassionate federalism. Looking at the other level, suppose I am the state government, then I should look at the center through the vision of compassion, through the vision of cooperation, respecting the constitution, rather than looking through my own self interest or political interest. So this is there. So let's switch off the live chat and then we'll discuss further topics.